Let's go.
Good Tuesday evening to all of you watching, even to those of you who are not. This is The Sweat, the usual suspects on your screen, Jessie and Emerson.
Tons of DFS and sports betting advice coming your way over the next 60 minutes. And manager of the Yankees, Aaron Boone, he's going to play our new special DraftKings game. It's called Who's It Bat? Who's It Bat?
All right. Baseball sounds like a fine place to start, though, so let's punch up our MLB panel for the evening. Jonah Carey of The Athletic, The Action Network's Matt LaMarca, and from Phantom Sports, that's Adam Mancuda.
So Chase Your Fade is where we begin ahead of tonight's loaded 15-game slate. Last night, the Yankees tied the MLB record for consecutive games with a home run by a single team. Tonight, they'll face the Blue Jays' Clayton Richard. DK Sportsbook has 5 guys in pinstripes you can bet on to homer, with Gary Sanchez having the best odds at plus 180. So Chase or Fade, Sanchez is the most likely Yankee to extend their home run streak. Matt.
I'm going to fade this, and personally, I don't find any of these odds really that attractive, but if I have to pick one, give me Edwin Encarnacion. If you look at these guys' recent StatCast data, he has the highest fly ball rate on the team at 58%. And I don't know if you guys know this, but you can't hit a home run unless you hit the ball in the air. I believe checks out on that. He's also got a 45% hard hit rate over the past 15 days. So I think Encarnacion would be the guy that I like the best at plus 205. But again, I don't think that any of these really represent like a screaming value.
Jonah, what do you think? There's also Stanton and Judge in there. I mean, do you like Sanchez?
First of all, I disagree with Matt's thesis. If it's Fernando Tatis, he would just hit a ground ball and he'd just run around the bases. He'll do whatever, so that's fine. No, I like Sanchez. I could see him being the best of the bunch here. I'll chase this one. I don't know that I'd chase it at 180 per se, but the way the question's posed is he the most likely? I think he could be. 1 out of every 9 at-bats that he's had this season against a left-hander has been a home run. That's a higher ratio than anybody else that you've cited there. So totally fine with Sanchez. I would make it a stack, though, if I could. It's Clayton Richard. You want to take Voit, you want to take Judge, Stanton. You can take the whole Yankees lineup. I think you'd do really well tonight.
Adam, are you going to chase or fade this one?
I'm going to chase it as well. I think that Sanchez is the best bet here. I agree completely, though. At this point, it wouldn't shock me if all of these guys on this list, plus Torres, plus even Aaron Boone, if he got up there, could hit a home run of Clayton Richard and that bullpen, assuming that they're going to get into that bullpen relatively quickly. But I just like the fact that Sanchez has been so consistent this entire season. Give me Sanchez. I'll take him as the favorite. And hopefully, as Jonah said, like you could stack the Yankees. It's a perfect play tonight, especially if you could get as many of them into your lineup as possible.
So the Marlins have won 4 straight. They've got that going for them, which is nice. But they will be facing Max Scherzer in the Nationals tonight. Miami, a big dog at home, plus 210. So the Fish do have Trevor Richards, though, on the mound. He's given up 1 run or less in 5 of his last 6 outings. So what I want you to do right now, Jonah, is chase your fade that Miami actually extends its win streak here to 5 games.
There's like 2 things going on. Number one is the Marlins are plus 210. That's not a bad value. Those are big numbers. But if the question is, are they going to extend their win streak? I don't think so. I can't go against Max Scherzer, so I'll fade this one. You look at Trevor Richards, and you cited his recent performance, which is really good. But 4 of those 5 good starts have come against pansies. You're talking about San Diego, you're talking about San Francisco, you're talking about Detroit, the worst team in all of baseball against right-handers. And the Cardinals have really struggled lately against righties as well. So 4 out of 5 are pretty much pushovers. I like Trevor Richards within context, but he's no Max Scherzer. The Nationals are going to win this one. The Marlins streak is going to end.
All right, Matt, what do you think? Scherzer, by the way, most expensive pitcher on the slate, 12-4 is what he is going to cost you.
Yeah, I'm not overthinking this one. I think you have to back Scherzer here. I mean, we've tracked 3 separate steam moves on the Nationals tonight, which means that, the pros are getting down pretty hard on them. More money wagered in terms of, actual dollars than percentage of bets that they've received, which is another good sign for sharp activity. But, the bottom line is this is Max Scherzer. He's 34 years old, but he's arguably putting together his best season in what's already been a really storied career. He's got, the best FIP of his career at 2.21. He's striking out more batters per 9 innings than he has in any other season. And the Marlins are pretty poor against right-handed bats. So I think Scherzer dominates tonight, and Clayton Richard, while he's had a good year, he's not going to be able to keep up.
Yeah, 146 strikeouts and just north of 106 innings this season. The man's going to cost you tonight, but Adam, can Miami get it done? Can Miami upset Scherzer and the Nationals, big dogs at home, 5 straight?
I just don't see it. Nationals are playing a lot better than they have, obviously, to start the season. Scherzer, I mean, is pitching with a broken face. I mean, the guy has now 3 different colored eyes. He's going out there. I would be scared if I was standing in the box seeing that. So to me, there's just no shot here for the Marlins. They're going to swing and miss a lot. Scherzer's going to dominate this lineup. Yes, they've improved. Obviously, they've won a few games. Some of the younger players are obviously performing a little bit better than we originally thought. I like Richards too. I have him playing my yearly league tonight, so hopefully he actually performs pretty well for me. But at the same time, he's no Max Scherzer. In that ballpark, I think he'll dominate. So I would certainly fade that the Marlins extend that winning streak.
All right, 2 offenses that love to strike out will play tonight with the Mariners facing the Brewers. So Marco Gonzalez's over-under for strikeouts is just 3.5, and Zach Davies is at 4.5. So chase or fade, Matt. Both of these pitchers hit the over on Ks.
I'm going to fade it. I mean, it's a pretty low bar, and like you mentioned, these teams do strike out a decent bit, but Zach Davies just scares me a little bit. He hasn't gone more than 5 innings in any of his past 3 starts, and he's stricken out just 6 batters per 9 innings over the past 12 months. So, even him getting 4 strikeouts means he probably has to go 6-7 innings in this contest, and I just don't see that happening, given that the strength of the Brewers, or one of their best strengths, is their bullpen. So I'm expecting, another relatively early night for Davies, and I think that'll keep his strikeout total low.
Adam, where are you going on this one?
I agree with Matt. I'm fading it, but for the opposite reason. I don't think Gonzalez is going to be able to stand up to the Brewers' offense. I think they're just too good. I think they're going to be in the bullpen early for the Mariners. I don't see him getting that many strikeouts. So if we're going to talk about both of them going over, I would certainly fade it. To Matt's point, Davies is not a strikeout guy. I like his opportunity tonight to get a win based on the opposition's pitcher. But for me, the answer is simply fade, because I just don't think Gonzalez is going to last more than 3 1/3, 4 innings tonight.
Jonah, what do you think?
When I first saw this question, I was like, well, this is going to be an easy one. I'm going to chase it. But in fact, if you look at recent history, Marco Gonzalez, only three of his last 9 starts has he gone over 3.5 strikeouts. 6 times in a row, Davies has failed to go over 4.5. I would actually turn this around and say, I want to bet on both of them going under. I think they're going to be out early. Pretty good offenses. Certainly Milwaukee side, a great offense. And these guys are not strikeout pitchers at all. I think it's going to be under for both.
Righty Chichi Gonzalez, his career was derailed by Tommy John surgery. He's going to be pitching tonight for the first time in, nearly 3 years here, making his Rockies debut. He's also going to be facing the Giants, who are going with Madison Bumgarner. He hasn't recorded a win in more than a month here, guys. So the over-under on this game is just 7.5. So I want you to chase or fade here, Adam, that this actually is an easy over.
Yeah, I'm going to chase it. Look, we've been fading everything so far this segment. I don't care if it's Chichi Gonzalez, Chichi Rodriguez, Chichi the salsa guy. I don't care. I feel like the Giants tonight are going to score enough runs. They've been scoring a little bit the last few days. So to me, this is going to go over. Bumgarner, look, I just think, to be honest with you, once he gets traded, you're going to see the old Bumgarner. He's going to be in a pennant race. He's going to be playing for a division title, maybe a World Series title. You're going to see the old Bumgarner. I think he's probably a little bored right now, waiting for that trade to hopefully happen on his behalf. So for me, I just could see him giving up 3 or 4 runs. I could certainly see Chichi giving up 5 or 6 before they go to the bullpen. So I would think this is going to be a pretty solid chase to go over.
Jonah, Colorado at San Francisco goes over 7.5 total runs. How attractive is that to you?
I hate to keep agreeing with these guys, but unfortunately I have to keep agreeing with these guys. There's not much I can do. Bumgarner's last 2 starts, 9 2/3 innings, 11 runs allowed. Now, it was against the Dodgers and the Brewers, granted, not the Rockies, who don't have the same level of offense, but they're a capable offense. I would love Ian Desmond tonight as one example. He smokes left-handers. The Rockies are not bad against lefties. They certainly have some guys in that lineup. And then you look at Gonzalez on the other side, not much expectation there. The Giants should be able to do something despite them having a weak lineup. So I don't know that they're going to crush this number necessarily, but I'll take a solid over here.
Matt, disagree with these guys.
Yeah, I will disagree.
Thank you.
And I hate to disagree with Jonah, who has probably forgotten more about baseball than I'll ever know. But I just look at these two offenses in one of the best pitchers parks in the league, and I just don't see a whole lot of potential for them. Colorado in particular, like, yes, they're good against left-handers at home, but they're awful against them on the road. They fall to just 24th in WRC plus against lefties on the road. And they're not going to have Trevor Story in the lineup tonight, who is arguably their best player at this point. I'm sure Nolan Arenado would take exception to that. And then you look at the San Francisco side, and they can't hit whether they're home, they're away. Maybe if you put them on the moon, they would find the way to hit the ball with some authority. But I just don't see either of these offenses getting it done, despite the fact that the pitching matchup is maybe a little bit uninspiring.
Alrighty, Tears of Joy with you three is coming up after some PGA Price Check with Reed and Jeff.
Tyler Sullivan here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. If you're a New York Knicks fan, you may want to cover your ears for this one. While appearing on CNBC to promote his book, Warriors forward Andre Iguodala was asked about two of his teammates that are about to hit free agency in Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson. While he's hopeful they'll both return to Golden State, you can seemingly cross one destination off the list, New York. Quote, nobody's going to the Knicks, he said. Sorry. Things have gotten pretty awry for New York over the last few months after they lost out on the top overall selection at the draft with Zion Williamson at the lottery, and Anthony Davis was moved to Los Angeles. Even Kyrie Irving, who was rumored to land in MSG all year, is looking more like he'll head to their crosstown rival Nets. It's still pretty early, but the offseason that promised Kyrie and Durant and more may slip through New York's fingers in short order.
Okay, two dudes talking golf. That's what we have for you right now. Jeff Ulrich, Reed Fowler. It's good to see you guys. We need you for some price check ahead of the Rocket Mortgage Classic.
Yeah, so Jeff, Brandt Snedeker is one of the pricier players this week at $9,900. Does he deserve that price tag?
I mean, not really. I mean, Snedeker's been okay this year. His ball striking's been kind of all over the place. I wouldn't say he's been great, but he's the type of player who does get hot with his putter. We saw him get hot in Canada with his putter, and he was near the lead there, put up a top 5. The thing that interests me about Brandt Snedeker, it's basically the field and the setup. He's going to set up as a lower owned pick because I think most people just don't want to pay like $10,000 or $9,700, whatever it is, for Brandt Snedeker this week. So I don't really think he deserves this price tag, but the guy's got a really good track record on Donald Ross designed courses. He was top 10 at Pinehurst in 2014. He's won at Sedgefield, the Wyndham Championship. He can go on birdie streaks. Like if this event is going to play a little bit softer, which it does look like it's going to be like a high scoring week, I think Brandt Snedeker is a really interesting GPP play, and he's someone that I think you might be able to get around 10, maybe even under 10% this week.
Reed, does he deserve that $9,900 price tag?
Well, first, I appreciate the whiteboard coming back on a Tuesday, but I do not like that message.
Hashtag FFT.
Let's get that. Yeah, I am down. I will tweet that out right now. Okay.
Hey, I have a hashtag. I've made it. So, look, I understand what Jeff is saying, right? If you just look at this track, it's an unknown. We look at Donald Ross designs, and Brandt Snedeker fits that mold. He's at 9,900. At this tournament, you kind of have to divorce the price tag with the player right now. Like Jeff was mentioning, a lot of people are going to flock away from that because Brandt Snedeker is usually in the low 8s, mid 8s when he's in a tournament. But I would argue that even though he's won on Donald Ross courses, if you look over the last 50 rounds, strokes gained tee to green on Ross courses, he's near 60th place in this field. And that's all through putting, right? He's doing all of this through a lot of putting. And 9,900, you have guys like Ryan Moore at 9,500. I think Patrick Reed, if we're looking at a decent pivot off of this chalk in this 9K range, like a Ryan Moore, or even if you go up to Hideki, who's low 10, I think Patrick Reed at that price tag, look, strokes gained par 5. He's one of the top in the field over the last 4 rounds, right? The Travelers, he gained quite a bit of strokes on par 5s, and I think that's what you're going to need this week. And he's a major winner. He's at plus 5,000. He's at 9,300 for Patrick Reed. I'd much rather pay that price tag, that ownership, than potentially looking at Brandt Snedeker this week.
Hey, Reed, Sungjae M, 21-year-old rookie here, finished 7th 3 weeks ago at the Canadian Open, followed that up with a T21 last week at the Travelers. So he's 8,800. How much do we like this price?
Yeah, this one's tough. I don't like it at all. I mean, we saw him pop, like you mentioned, a little bit right before that. He couldn't find his swing. He was doing a lot of these guys who were doing a lot of it on putting, and that's where we see Sanjay. We saw him last week place a lot better than he has been in the past. But at 8,800, it's the weak field. It's a name that we saw pop earlier in the season, so they're using that name recognition at that price tag, right? The same with Joaquin Niemann. He's at 8,900, and he was a virtual no-show this entire season. Pops last week, and now he's close to $9,000. It doesn't make sense to me. Guys like Kevin Tway in the low 8K range. A guy that we'll mention in a little bit is someone else that I really like in the 8K range. And look, if you like Sanjay, you're going to bank it off of the par 5 scoring and the Eagles, which he's top 5 over the last 6 tournaments or half dozen tournaments or so. So if you want to play this guy and rest your laurels on that, I understand it, but not for me.
Okay, Jeff, this guy's had a few brushes with contention, notably T3 at Bay Hill, which has him in the Open now in a month. Do you like his price this week, though?
His price, look, Reed's probably right from the perspective of maybe he's a little bit overpriced this week, and maybe his ball striking's been a little bit up and down, but this is a player's top 10 in birdies or better on par 5 scoring. He's a tremendous par 5 scorer. He was pretty solid all week last week at the Travelers. Yeah, he gained a few strokes putting, but it's not a big deal. He's got a good all around the green game, and I don't mind taking guys with hot putters this week. It could really come in handy because, like I said, the winning score might be minus 20 or better. I like Sanjay M this week, especially at this price range. A lot of people are going to play Joaquin Niemann. Joaquin Niemann is trending to go over 15% owned in GPPs. Billy Horschel is going to be up there because he's such a good Donald Ross player, and he's been really solid. He's going to be highly owned. I think Sanjay M is going to come in under 10% owned. And I know I talked about Bubba Watson on this program yesterday. I think Sanjay M is actually sets up as a better tournament pivot from some of these higher owned players in the 9K range, just because his recent form is just more solid. He's just making more birdies than Bubba, and he's making less bogeys. It's that simple. I know it sounds, maybe I'm making it too simple, but I really feel like the way Sanjay M is playing right now and his birdie rate and his ability to score on the par 5s, I think he's going to be a really good tournament pivot especially off of Joaquin Niemann this week.
There goes Ulrich, already backtracking on his Bubba Watson pick from yesterday.
Okay, moving on.
He's trending down, Reed. He's trending down.
Guys, how about Rory Sabatini? He's had 2 top 6 finishes in a row, but has slipped a little in his last 2 events. He's at 8.5, so would you pay that much for him, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I think Reed mentioned Rory Sabatini last week, and I have to admit, in this range, again, it's almost a similar story to Sanjay M. The reason I like Sanjay M, I would rather play Sabatini than Streelman this week. Streelman's numbers on par 5 scoring and in these birdie fests, they're just not as good as Rory Sabatini's. So if you're going to give me Kevin Streelman at 17, 15% and Rory Sabatini at 10% or less in a big GPP, I'm going to take Sabatini this week. Look, Streelman might be ball striking a little bit more consistent, but Sabatini's around the green game is better. His birdie rate on par 5s are better, and he's going to be lower owned. That's the biggest thing for me. You got more GPP leverage. I like this price for Rory Sabatini. Definitely going to have a little bit of exposure this week.
Reed.
Yeah, OG Rory. I mean, it's the 8,500, right? This guy is perfectly priced. It's not, it's not the sticker shock where we see him at 95 or 96, which would be a little too expensive to fade Rory, even though he's playing extremely well. I mentioned it yesterday. If you look at strokes gained tee to green over the last 50 rounds on Ross courses, along with long form, so just over the last 50 rounds in general on all types of courses, Rory Sabatini is right there. He's inside the top 20 in both of those categories. Ball striking is there. Jeff mentioned around the green is there. If you look at this course, and some guys have tweeted it out to some of us in the industry, this course doesn't look that hard. The rough, when they're saying it's 3.5 inches, it doesn't look that tough. Some of the defenses on this course are potentially going to be those greens, those undulations on the greens. And Rory Sabatini is top 2 over the last 6 tournaments in this field in strokes gained around the greens. DK scoring, putts within 5 to 10 feet. This guy has been elite, again, over the last half dozen tournaments. So at 8,500, you got guys like Victor Hovland right below him in price tag, and a lot of people are going to play. We just mentioned some of the other guys in that last segment, or in that last question. I'd much rather play Sabatini especially if we're getting him at 10 to 12% ownership.
All right, we're going to look at some dudes with some very long odds entering this weekend's tournament with you two coming up. But first, it's MLB Tears of Joy after this.
Hi there, it's Brendan Glasheen, and with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash, the Celtics are emerging as a stealth suitor for Hornets free agent Kemba Walker. Mark Stein of the New York Times with the news. Stein adds, Boston's cap room situation is a fluid one, but the Celtics, as Danny Ainge has acknowledged, are weighing their various needs as we speak in both the backcourt with Kyrie Irving and possibly Terry Rozier leaving, and front court with Al Horford exiting. When Stein says the C's cap room situation is a fluid one, he means Boston could have about $34 million in cap space when free agency begins the night of June 30th. Kyrie Irving and Al Horford, as Stein said, are reportedly gone out the door. The Aaron Baines trade freed up space, and if Terry Rozier's contract rights are announced, there you go. There's the $34 million. It's up for grabs externally. Walker has spent all 9 years of his career in Charlotte after being drafted in 2011 out of UConn. It's a bit of a stretch, but yeah, Kemba's had a taste of New England before. If the Celtics somehow land arguably the second best unrestricted free agent point guard, only to Kyrie Irving, their old leader, what a turn of events that would be for the franchise.
All right. The baseball bros are back, and if you don't know who I'm talking about, please pay closer attention.
Yep,
we
that'd
got
be great.
Jonah Carey back with us of The Athletic, Matt LaMarca from the Action Network, and Adam Mancuda from Phantom Sports.
Time for Tears of Joy, gentlemen. Lots to choose from, unless we're looking at Tier 1. Only 4 to choose from. Jonah, who's your guy?
Pete Alonso, I looked this up, has 4,725 home runs this year. I couldn't believe it. It's a high number, but it's totally true.
No, I believe you.
Well, it's roughly that many. 6 in his last 13 games. OPS of 1156 in June. He's been absolutely crushing it. Don't overthink it. He's killing it. He's been a terrific, great story, Rookie of the Year, and matches up well here. Jake Arrieta, 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings. I like this matchup. I think Alonso goes deep and has a nice little score here.
All right, Adam, I know you're a big Gary Sanchez fan.
Not really. I mean, I'm going to take the polar bear. I'm going to take my guy, Mr. Alonso. I agree. Well, it's been 24 hours since he hit a home run, so he's obviously due. I'm not the biggest stat guy, but reading through Twitter today, one of the big things that obviously jumped out at me was among all first basemen in baseball, he leads in F-WAR, B-WAR, home run slugging percentage, and WRC plus. That's impressive. I don't even know what half those stats mean. I know Matt does. He can certainly fill us in on what that all means. To me, it just means he hits the ball. He hits a ton of home runs in that ballpark tonight. The Mets are going to need to score runs. They got some guy named Walker Lockett pitching. Who the hell knows who that is? So I just think Alonso, he's due. He's been 24 hours again. So I'll take him and hope he knocks one out tonight.
Matty, is it a Pete Alonso sweep, or you want to break up that right now?
I'm going to break it up. I mean, these guys both picked Sanchez as the Yankee homer.
That's what I'm saying.
I was expecting it to be a Sanchez sweep. I'm fine with fading Sanchez in the traditional format where he's 5,600, but I just think that he offers so much more upside than all the other guys in this tier. Huge offensive night potential for the Yankees. I mean, they're implied for 7.7 runs right now. I don't think I've ever seen an implied team total that high outside of Coors Field. I just really think that this team is going to be the mega chalk tonight, and Sanchez is the one guy that in tier 1 I really don't think I can avoid.
All right, who's the best option in tier 2, Adam?
Yeah, I just think it's Manny Machado. I just think that the drama of him going back to Baltimore, he's all pomp and circumstance. This guy always wants the attention on himself. We've seen that in the postseason. Look, the stats are probably better on any of the other guys, but I expect Machado to play well tonight in Baltimore. So I'll take Machado, and I'll probably be wrong, but I just want to see him put on a show. So I'll ride with Machado tonight.
Matt, who you going with?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the Padres, but I'm going with Hunter Renfroe. I actually think that this is a pretty amazing spot for the Padres. They go from playing their home games at Petco, which has been the most unfriendly hitter park in baseball, according to ESPN's Park Factors. And now they go to Baltimore, which has been the 6th friendliest and the 3rd most friendly in terms of home runs per game. The Padres are averaging over 5 runs per game on the road. This is a really, really good hitting team that has just been held down by the ballpark that they play in. So I think that tonight is an opportunity for these guys to sort of spread their wings. And the reason that I lean Renfroe over Machado is just because he's been better against right-handers over the past 12 months. You look at Renfroe, he's got a higher WOBA and a higher ISO against right-handed pitchers than Machado over that time frame. So I'll go with the guy with a little extra pop in his bat.
Jonah, who you going with?
I'm also taking Hunter Renfroe, but I like both of these matchups. Machado as well. Machado 6 home runs in his last 10 games. Renfroe, we mentioned all the great numbers there. How about the fact that Baltimore's pitcher tonight is Jimmy Yacabonis, as in what a Yacabonis it is that I get to face Jimmy Yacabonis. It's going to work out well for the San Diego Padres here. This is not a Tampa Bay Rays opener situation where you're throwing out one guy who's awesome, followed by 3 more guys who are awesome. The Orioles are going to get lit tonight. Honestly, the Padres bat boy has a chance to homer tonight. You want to take Renfroe, that's great. You want to take Machado, that's great. I lean slight Renfroe, but Machado is also an excellent pick.
Hey, Matty, in Tier 3, talk to me here. I see Edwin Encarnacion there. I know you were high on him earlier in the show.
I was, but my favorite play here is Lindor. He's one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. If you look at the matchup they have against Glenn Sparkman, who I think is also ironically my handyman during the offseason, his numbers this year against left-handers are just really, really bad. He's given up 6 home runs in just 21 2/3 innings. That's almost 2.5 homers per 9. He's also been shelled when pitching on the road, 7.82 ERA on the road this season, and this game will take place in Cleveland. So there are a lot of really strong offenses to target tonight, but the Indians are one that I think could fly a little bit under the radar, but they definitely have my attention.
Hey, is there someone in this tier, Matt, you look at and you're like, yeah, that's the last guy I'm going to roster?
Oof. Howie Kendrick.
Okay.
Just because.
Just because? Okay, sounds good.
I just don't think he has the same offensive, like he's not in as good of a spot as the Yankee guys or Lindor, and he's the clear he's clearly behind Rendon and Soto for me as well. So he would be sort of the last pick for me.
Hey, Jonah, a couple of Yankees players in here. Would it make sense to maybe consider stacking the Yankees? It seems like they're especially since their lineup has been absolutely just healthy, that they've just been raking.
Yeah, no question about it. It's definitely a stack. I have Encarnacion in this tier. Clayton Richard, just to underline how bad he's been, 421 WOBA against lefties. That's woefully bad. Horribly bad. Thank you. So I look for Encarnacion to potentially go deep. Sanchez is a candidate. Gio Urshela is a candidate. This is a great matchup for the Yankees. They should be able to put up big numbers here.
I'll also ask you, is there someone in this tier that you would just steer clear of?
Yeah, Kendrick for the same reason. Trevor Richards has been pretty decent, and it's just not the same caliber hitter as some of the other guys.
A-Train, who you like, tier 3?
Yeah, I actually like Gleyber Torres here. I think I mentioned it earlier about the fact that you could stack Yankees here. I love the matchup against Richard. I love the sweet swing. He's been consistent pretty much all year. I can't argue with Matt with Lindor. I agree, though, Kendrick is probably the one that I would steer clear of. Again, Richard is a pretty good pitcher. Jonah earlier mentioned the fact that he has faced some lesser offenses recently. So to me, Richards might be due for some regression here, but I would, again, take Rendon or Soto over Kendrick. So I'd probably will rank Kendrick last. I just like the matchup with Torres. It's hot in New York here. Ball's going to be flying out of the ballpark again. The team total, he'll have guys on base in front of him, so I'll take Torres.
I don't like New York when it's really hot because it smells like hot garbage.
Yeah, it always smells like garbage, but it's especially disgusting.
There's great food there, though. There's really good food and cheap pizza.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to take a trip to the MLB bargain bin with you three right after we discuss which golfer with the longest odds has the best shot at winning this weekend.
We'd like to play a little game here called Who's at Bat, okay? You ready? This is when we're going to show you some silhouettes of famous batting stances, and then you're going to try to guess who it is. Any idea who that is?
Ichiro.
Yeah, you nailed it. Come on, guys. We got to be a little more difficult than this. You know who this is?
Yes.
Former Yankee, which may or may not help you.
Yes. That is... Man, I totally know that.
First name, Chuck?
Knobloch. Yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
Gosh.
It's all right.
Totally.
You just used one of your lifelines, though, okay? So you only have 2 more left. Third one. Current manager in Major League Baseball.
Counsell. Greg Counsell.
Yep. Okay. And then one more for you.
That's third baseman for the Orioles.
Come on, you got it. You're on it.
Batista. No.
Yes. You got it. Tony Batista.
Tony Batista, yeah.
Well done.
I like this. I like this game. Yeah, I want some more of these next time I come on.
Yes, we will be better prepared. We will have like 8 or 9 or like 10 for you next time.
A little more subtle stance. See if I can really pull it off.
We have multiple games in our back pocket we plan on playing with you. But for now, thank you, Aaron Boone, manager of the Yankees, for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Take care.
All right, you too. What's up, everyone? Emerson, Lotzia, Reed T. Fowler. We are here because of our good friends at FanShare. They have decided who's trending up, who's trending down, entering the Rocket Mortgage Classic this week. So, trending up, Ryan Moore. Reed, tell the people at home why.
Yeah, so Ryan Moore, 9,500. Kind of weird when we see Ryan Moore at this price tag, but super weak field, right? And if you look at this architect and this layout, it's a Donald Ross course. Over the last 50 rounds, Ryan Moore comes in top 5 in strokes gained tee to green on these courses. And on these courses, obviously, when you look at what you need here, it's approach shot, it's position golf, it's a little longer, right? It's a little on the longer side in terms of distance. We haven't yet seen how this course plays yet, and so Ryan Moore at this price tag, extremely weak field, it's top heavy. He's going to get a lot of buzz because of his correlation and his success at Donald Ross courses. Okay, so trending down, Bubba Watson dropping 12 spots, tied for 16th in tags here. What's his issue? Well, I mean, what's not his issue? True. Right? No, right. All kidding aside, like Bubba Watson is, again, you look at this course and you just don't know yet. We saw him last week. He's a course horse. He's like Tiger. He's like these other guys who perform well at their specific courses. So Riviera, Augusta, that's where we see Bubba do well. Travelers as well is another course that he does well. Last week, he didn't really pop that much. He had one solid round, but he just didn't do anything. If people used him last week, it kind of burned them, right? He's now at $8,700. You have guys in that price range like a Rory Sabatini. You have guys in the 7K range like Byung-Hun An. You're taking a little bit more shots with those guys as opposed to a guy like Bubba who's just not filling out the stat sheet too much. Love you, Reed. Love you, FanShare. Love you guys for watching. Thank you.
Oh, man, our gorgeous golf gurus are back.
So hot on Fade Fowler Tuesday. Give it up. Yeah. It is trending. There have been like 3 hashtag FFTs out there on Twitter.
If you don't know,
it's
DK Live's Jeff Ulrich and Reed T. Fowler. Hashtag Fade Fowler Tuesday. I don't know what you guys are doing with that.
No, this cannot have any sort of steam. I don't like this at all.
Okay,
it's picking up, baby. Choo-choo.
You're here to play PGA. What are the odds? So which players with long odds do you think have a shot at the Rocket Mortgage Classic?
All right, let's start at plus 9,000. Jeff. Who do
I
you
just want
like?
to go on record as this is my favorite segment. I love talking about crappy players.
Yeah, me too, man. It's perfect. It's perfect for Fade Fowler Tuesday.
Here. I'm going to throw out Luke List. I mean, I know he's kind of like the DFS guy. People like him because he hits it far. But I don't know. But I think Luke List is in play in this tournament, and there's a couple reasons why. First of all, it doesn't look like the rough is going to be up at all. So Luke List can probably miss as many fairways as he wants. And second of all, he's top 10 in par 5 scoring, par 5 birdiers or better. And there's going to be 4 pretty easy to score on par 5s at this event. And, it's all going to come down to the putter with Luke List. It does most weeks, but I think this week more than anything. If he gets it going, though, and he gets off to a good start, definitely a player in play. We've seen him top 5 multiple times over the last couple seasons. So from this list, or from this range, I should say, around 9,000, definitely I think Luke List would be it for me.
Okay, Reed, I see Brian Harmon in there. He's the pride of, I believe, the Treasure Coast down in Florida.
Yeah, no, good luck with Brian Harmon. The guy hasn't won a tournament in a long time. I think his putter is bigger than he is. But look, for me, Keith Mitchell is the guy that I'm looking at plus 9,000. I understand the Luke List call. We kind of mentioned, right, the Byung-Hun Ans, these guys who are on sort of this second or third tier of golfers who have shown a lot of affinity or just a lot of acumen in terms of their ball striking, can hit it, have placed in the last year or so pretty well, have a chance at this tournament if it's not top guys like DJ Hideki. But Keith Mitchell, already a winner in a tougher field of Valspar, tougher course. You just look at what he's been able to do, right? I just kind of sort of gravitated towards him with this. And strokes gained par 5, we know that it hasn't been great over the last 24, 36, whatever you want to call it, rounds, but we know he can get it out there. We know he can get eagles when he needs to. And so Keith Mitchell is someone that I'm looking at. And, in terms of other guys in that range, Bud Cauley is another one that popped for me as well. If you look at just the amount of rounds played on Donald Ross courses, you have your Snedekers, Patrick Reed's up there. Hideki, I think, has the most in this field. Bud Cauley is another one who's played at least 24 30 rounds on Donald Ross courses, and he comes in top 15 in strokes gained tee to green over the last 24, 36 rounds on Donald Ross courses. And this is a guy that's been fighting back this season to get back into form. He's doing a lot with the short game, but I really like him this week as well.
All right, which golfers between plus 11,000 and plus 13,000 would you give a chance, Reed?
Ooh.
Yeah, this kind of goes along with the Luke List call with Jeff, but Siwoo Kim, I touted him sort of last week as well. If you look at the talent of these other guys, right? I know Nick Watney, he's another guy that's out there who's played a lot on Donald Ross courses. It seems like Watney's been playing for like the last 2 decades on the tour, but Siwoo Kim is clearly the best talent in this range. We know that he can play these shorter courses, or these courses that aren't necessarily that difficult. We also know he can get last place. So when you're looking at a guy like Siwoo Kim, look for the top 10 and top 5 each ways. But if you just look at his stats, if you look at his ball striking, we know it's there. We know he can't putt. But like Jeff mentioned, even if the guy decides to spray it a little bit, even if he gets behind in terms of leaderboard, we know that he can rattle off birdies at a pretty impressive clip. So give me Siwoo, and if not, Cage Lee would be the other guy as well.
Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, the graphic obviously has Charlie Hoffman up there. And that was a player I don't mind taking a shot with this week. Obviously, whenever sentiment is low on a player, Hoffman obviously burned everyone last week because he's got a fantastic record at the Travelers, and he missed the cut, right? But, you have to remember, going back to that, there was a reason people liked him. He was trending well in a lot of different categories. Strokes gain approach, definitely one of them. So this is a veteran player talking about with Charlie Hoffman. You're probably getting inflated odds. If he had made the cut last week, you probably wouldn't be able to get him at better than like 50 or 60 to 1 in a field like this. So something to think about with Charlie Hoffman. Reed mentioned Nick Watney. I'm not sure if you can get Nick Watney at plus 11,000 right now. His sentiment is pretty high this week. I think he's actually going to be popular on DraftKings, but absolutely a player whose tee to green has been really solid over the last couple months. Has won on a Donald Ross course before, was top 5 at Sedgefield. And I mean, Nick Watney has been around for a while, but this is a former top 10 player in the world. The guy who's challenged at majors, definitely has the talent, definitely has the ability, in my opinion, to make a comeback like Ches Reavie did. I mean, it hasn't been 11 years between wins for Nick Watney, but it's been a while now. So I think he's really trending in the right direction. I think a weaker field like this, you could see him pop. And I definitely don't mind him taking a shot at him at longer odds this week.
Hey, Jeff, who do you like the most at plus 15,000 or higher? I mean, give me Russell Henley, baby. Russell Henley, former winner of the Honda Classic in 2014.
I mean, look, I almost always bet Russell Henley at odds. Yes! I don't know if I'm going to this week because he's just been terrible this year. But I love taking shots at guys like this, especially in weaker fields. My pick, though, this week, it's Steven Yeager. And it's not up there or whatever, but we'll talk to the producers about the issue later. But this is a player he's won every year on professionals and as a professional. It's all web.com wins, but he's a player who knows how to get it done.
It's a little
he's
different.
Got a 58 in a web.com event before. I think he's got enough talent to eventually find a win on the PGA Tour, and he's not someone who you're going to see coming. He's got a great around the green game. He was top 15 in strokes gained off the tee last week. Didn't really get hot with the putter. He's played well, though. 3 cuts in a row. I would not be shocked if Steven Yeager popped up here for a big week.
All right, Reed, I'm feeling some Sam Burns right now from you, huh?
Wait, it's not called the web.com tour anymore, Jeff. What's it called?
Oh, the Corn Ferry Tour, baby.
Yeah, it's such a bad name. I'm never calling it that. It's always going to be the web.com. But look, I like that call. I think Jägerbaum is a nice one. I mean, he's at this price range he's at this odds range for a reason, right? We haven't necessarily seen it. Sam Burns, the Tiger Slayer, right? When we saw him at Honda, he beat Tiger when he was in that group with him. This is a pretty amazing thing that what he's doing, right? We know Sam Burns is one of the best putters on tour right now. He's been the number 1 spot at any tournament in the field in strokes gained putting. He's been gaining strokes with the flat stick over the last 10 straight tournaments. Now, what scares me about Sam Burns is that he's been losing strokes through the approach over the last, I think, 4 or 5 straight tournaments. But if you look at what we think is going to be the key stats here, strokes gained par 5, he's number 1 in the field. And Eagles, rightfully so, he's also in the top. I think he's also number 1 in that price range. So when you look at guys at this spot, you want guys either that can make birdies and eagles at an impressive clip, can hit a positive putting round. Sepp Straka is another one that we've seen him really rattle off birdies. He just lost like 1,000 strokes putting last week. But Sam Burns is a guy who's continuously putting extremely well. And if you get these, I think there's 2 or 3 reachable par 5s. There's one that I think water is in front, so you can't necessarily potentially go for it. But if you can get those, and if you can get these eagles on these short par fours, I think you have a nice little number there at plus 150 or plus 15,000 for Sam Burns, who's playing and hitting the ball pretty well.
You know what worries me about Sam Burns, guys?
What's that?
What?
Reed picked him.
Hashtag Fade Fowler Tuesday.
FFT.
That's the best we can do on Fade Fowler Tuesdays.
Anyway,
Wow,
good stuff as always, you two, on this Fade Fowler
FFT.
Tuesday. Coming up, my interview yesterday with Scott Oberg.
Right after we hear from Pat Mayo on Justin Thomas.
Okay.
But in terms of Justin Thomas, because we're seeing this with him too, that the tee to green game has just been outstanding and the dude can't putt anymore. When we thought about his wrist injury, we thought about it from a driving and approach perspective that, will he be able to get it out of the rough? How is his touch around the green going to be? Is he going to be able to drive the ball? But all that came back right away. Even when he struggled at Memorial, he was still pretty good, at least the first round tee to green. Then he was just bad in the second round at all facets of the game. He was just rusty. But ever since we've seen him since, in Hamilton, last week, at the U.S. Open, the tee to green has been really good. Dude can't make a putt. Do you think the wrist injury has hurt his putting?
This is really shocking. When you go and dig into the numbers, it's really tough. I think it's possible. I would say it is probably more variance than anything.
Okay.
Although I think that there might be, let's call it like 25%, without having any idea what his wrist injury, I mean, only he is going to know that. If with it being such a feel type area of the green, if he's got, a little numbness still in his wrist, if there's still something kind of going on there, he might not have the same feel with a putter or with like wedges around the green that he previously had, and now he's trying to work through it. That is 1000% speculation, Pat. So I really just think that there's probably more variance than not here, but I wouldn't be super surprised if there was some type of just different feel that he has after the U.S. Open after the wrist injury. And these guys are creatures of habit where a different feel might screw him up for a bit.
So that's what I was trying to parse out with Feinberg, and whether this is just a bad stretch of putting for him and it's complete variance, chalk it up to randomness, because again, we're still dealing with such a limited sample. It's 4 starts for him on tour, and 3 of his past 3 starts, because he played 4 weeks in a row. 1 was on bent, then the next 3 were on like weird POA greens. Maybe he wasn't reading those properly. You get him back on bent grass, you put him on Bermuda, all of a sudden problem solved. I don't know. But the big thing is, like, I've seen him as low as 40-1 for the Open Championship. I don't know if he's going to win the Open Championship, but that feels like an auto bet.
Yeah, I mean, there's value in that number. You're right. I don't know if he's going to win it, but he's way better than I'm sure his peers that are also in the 40-1 range. I don't know if you have it up, but I can imagine the other names around him, and Justin Thomas is a class golfer compared to them.
All right, it looks like people jumped on that 40 number, because now I'm seeing a 33 across all the sites. But he's the same number as Louis, the same number as Stenson, the same number as Patrick Cantlay, Jason Day, and he's way behind guys like Fowler and Fleetwood and Rahm and Scott and Xander Schauffele.
Yeah, which, just before that wrist injury, I mean, remember, to start the season, literally before the Honda, he was scorching earth. He was the best player on the planet. His stats were through the roof, and we didn't know if he could keep that going, but it seemed like there wasn't going to be anything to stop him unless he was going to smash his club up against a tree in like the first round of the Honda Classic. And of course, that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, and then he continued to try to play through it. And I think the Masters thing, coming T12 at the Masters, really threw us all off guard. Yeah. You're like, oh yeah, he's probably all right. He played well at the Masters. But I guess
he came back, he played the Masters, and he was fine. And then that was clearly not the case, because then he didn't even play the PGA, right? He sat it out.
Welcome back to DraftKings' The Sweat. Joining the program is Rockies pitcher Scott Oberg. Scott, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
So your Rockies are in good shape for a wild card spot this season. Obviously, you won the wild card game last year and were on the mound to finish the game off, striking out all 4 batters you faced. What was it like to have to put the team on your back in that moment?
I didn't really look at it as putting the team on my back in that moment. We had done a really good job throughout the course of that game. We had come out early against Leicester, scored early, then they fought us back. It was a pretty even keel game throughout the whole, course of the 13 innings or 12 innings, however many we played. Even leading up to that, both teams had played, down to the wire. We're both fighting for division spots. We both were forced to play a 163 game that we both ended up losing at, and then we have to turn around and play this wild card game the next day. So, it's just kind of an interesting dynamic going into it.
Well, you certainly did your job. Now, you're from Tewksbury, Massachusetts, which is pretty close to the DraftKings headquarters. Did you grow up a Boston sports fan?
I did, yeah. We moved up there, when I was young, my dad had been working outside of Dallas. So my brother and I were born there, and we moved up to Massachusetts, and we fully got integrated right into the whole Boston sports culture. So basically, I've only seen Tom Brady basically since I was 11 years old. I remember briefly the Drew Bledsoe years, but every sports team, every major sports team had won a title when I was growing up as a kid. So we were pretty spoiled as a sports fan.
A lot of parades. Now, you went to UConn with fellow MLB star George Springer of the Astros. Did you know then that he would be such a great player?
Yeah, you don't really truly know until you see it. See the maturation of his game really come about. But those first few weeks on campus, really hearing the ball off his bat, I never heard a sound come off a bat the way it did off of his.
So we also heard that one of your favorite hobbies is photography. And how did you get into that?
Yeah, I'm very amateurish at the whole photography thing. I have a couple of cameras. I don't really know exactly what I'm doing with them, but I like to go around and obviously we have access to the ballpark, so I try to get to the fields early, especially stadiums I haven't been to yet, and just really take in the whole experience and really get as many different unique shots as I possibly can, so that when I'm older and I get to look back on it, I can I have something tangible in front of me outside of just my memories, where I can be like, oh yeah, I remember exactly where this was and where I was at.
Now, we are DraftKings, so we have to ask, are you into fantasy sports at all?
I have been in the past. I've done some fantasy football leagues with some of my former UConn teammates, but recently I have been kind of getting away from it a little bit, but it's just kind of personal preference.
Well, here at DraftKings, we give out awards for the best fantasy players in each sport. So nearing the midway point in the season, who on your team would you nominate for this season's DraftKings Fantasy Baseball MVP?
It's tough. I'm torn right now between Charlie and Nolan, because those guys have been absolutely killing it, especially the way Charlie's been swinging the bat after he came off the injured list, and Nolan's been steady since day one, and and Trevor's been doing a great job all year. So honestly, I'd probably have to give it to Nolan, but the other two guys are definitely deserving as well.
Okay, well, if you had to draft a team using only Rockies players, past and present, who would you want to take first?
Man, I think you got to start on the hill. I'm a little biased being a pitcher, so I think I got to go with Ubaldo. And just the way he competed, it's not too many times you come across a guy throwing that hard with that kind of movement on his pitches. So I think I'll probably start with Menez there.
Tyler Sullivan here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. The Astros are about to get a boost in their lineup with the return of George Springer. The Houston Slugger has been activated off the IL on Tuesday after missing a month of action due to a hamstring injury. Prior to going down, Springer was enjoying the best offensive season of his career in the bigs. Throughout 48 games, Springer hit .308 to go along with 17 home runs, 43 RBI, and a 1.032 OPS. If he can get back to where he was before the injury, he brings some serious value as it relates to the MVP race. DK Sportsbook currently has Springer pegged as the 5th best odds in the AL at plus 2,000. Of course, LA's Mike Trout is the overwhelming favorite in this race at minus 265, and the reigning AL MVP Mookie Betts is plus 1,200 at the moment. But if Springer can produce, he's a serious dark horse to claim the crown.
All right, this is it. Final block of the show. Closing things out with our baseball dudes again, which is Jonah Carey of The Athletic. You have Matt LaMarca of the Action Network. Adam Mancuda from Phantom Sports. And what is this? Before we get to the bargain bin, we have a quick little announcement. Would you like to break the news to everyone?
Yeah, well, Chris Davis, he's out tonight. So
Yeah, he's not going to play. I know a couple of you guys, I believe, liked him, so don't say his name if we get to that question.
And Bellinger and Muncy not in the Dodgers lineup tonight. So just
cool.
A general warning to everybody.
Got to get that out of the way because lineups lock in about 15 minutos.
Yeah, but we are here to take a look at the bargain bin, right? So, AKA, where should people look to save some money tonight? So if you need a pitcher for under $7K, who you going with here, Adam?
Yeah, I actually don't love that many options here. The one guy that just jumps out at me because of win potential is Kyle Davies, who we talked about earlier. I know Matt's not high on this guy going long in the game, but I do think that if the Brewers get a nice lead here, which is certainly possible with Gonzalez on the mound for the Mariners, they could be up 6-2, 7-3, something like that. He's going to get you a win. He'd get a couple strikeouts, maybe keep the hits and walks total down a little bit, only a few earned runs. The guy has been a pretty good pitcher outside of his last start, so I'll go with Kyle Davies. I don't trust any of the other options, including Matt Plummer, Mr. Sparkman in Kansas City.
Handyman.
Jonah, who are you going to go with, and do you like the Davies pick?
Not a huge fan of the Davies pick. My single favorite bargain at any position tonight by far is Jessie Chavez. There's a couple things here about Jessie Chavez. He's been pitching in the bullpen, so the fear is he's not going to go long. That's why he's the third cheapest pitcher on the entire slate. But they stretched him out to 5 innings in his most recent outing in relief, and he has a 1.07 ERA in his last 2 months. He's a really good pitcher, and he's facing Detroit. Detroit is the single worst offense in all of baseball against right-handers, and it's not even close. A bunch of one-legged raccoons are better at baseball than the Detroit Tigers are. Chavez is a great pick here. I love him. I think he's going to carve up the Tigers, get a win, and do good things for you at a very cheap price.
Have you seen one-legged raccoons play baseball before?
It's an incredible. I live in Canada, so all bets are off here. All kinds of things happen.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
man.
I believe it then.
Yeah.
If you're in Canada,
Anything goes up there.
Anything's possible in Canada. LaMarca, what do you think of these guys' picks, and who are you going with?
Yeah, I mean, after listening to Jonah, I kind of want to change my answer to Jessie Chavez.
Mm-hmm.
He made a pretty compelling case there for him at 5,300. I'll go a little more expensive. I'll go with Max Fried at 6,700. Really, really awful pitching environment tonight with the wind blowing out at Wrigley. But I think that this guy is just a more talented pitcher than his current salary reflects. He's got a ERA of just above 4, but his advanced metrics suggest he's been better than that. His xFIP is right around 3.5. He can get you some strikeouts. He's at right around 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. And the Cubs are simply mediocre against left-handers. They're much better against right-handers. They rank just 16th in WRC plus against southpaws this season. So I think that Fried, even though it's a scary environment to target a pitcher, I think that he's just a little bit better than that salary says that he is.
Okay, let's look at first base here. Who do you like for less than 4K, Jonah?
Well, Paul Goldschmidt is on the slate, and I understand the matchup. Chris Bassett is actually very good against right-handers this year. Goldschmidt has not been particularly great against right-handed pitching, but he's the number 32 ranked first baseman. At some point, you just have to look at it. All right, stats. It's Paul Goldschmidt. He's the number 32 ranked first baseman. So I'm going to take Goldschmidt on name value and talent alone. I just think that there's not much out there. I don't know if I want Jose Osuna or Yuli Gurriel riding with actual money on the line. So I'll take Goldschmidt here just based on pedigree, if nothing else.
Okay, LaMarca, Jonah made it seem like you're an absolute idiot if you go with anyone besides Goldschmidt here.
Well, I've been called an idiot many times before, so that's fine with me. I'm going with G-Man Choi. I like the spot for him against Kyle Gibson. Choi is actually a very good hitter against right-handers. He's posted a 370 WOBA, 215 ISO against right-handers over the past 12 months. Gibson has been, pretty solid for the Twins this year, but he's not anything to write home about. And Choi also enters this game in pretty good StatCast form over the past 15 days. He's got a hard hit rate of 50%, average exit velocity of 95 miles an hour. So I think that there's enough there that if you're looking to save at first base and you don't want to go with Paul Goldschmidt, I think G-Man Choi is a appealing pick.
All right, A-Train, who's your guy here, bud?
Yeah, I've been called an idiot on this show probably within the last 45 minutes, so I am
100%.
totally okay to not. Yeah, so I'm totally. Yeah, exactly. Cool. I'm going to go with Rowdy Tellez of the Blue Jays. He's in the lineup tonight. 7 runs, 7 RBIs, 3 home runs over the last 6 or 7 days. Again, a bullpen game for the Yankees tonight with Green starting. They put up 8 runs last night in Yankee Stadium. As I said earlier, the ball's going to be flying out of there. The guy's been pretty hot. For that price, I'll take him and take my chances.
All right, how about a second baseman for under 4K? Matt, who are you looking at?
I'm going down to Enrique Hernandez at 3,700. He's sort of a left-handed hitting specialist in terms of he specializes against left-handed pitchers. Gets a matchup tonight against Robbie Ray, who can dominate at times, but also is very prone to the blow-up start. Hernandez is going to be batting in the leadoff spot, which is always nice. No spot in the order has historically provided as much fantasy value as the leadoff spot in the lineup. So I think that there's enough there. 3,700 is very inexpensive for a leadoff hitter. Even in a slightly difficult matchup, I think that Hernandez is a strong play here.
Adam, what do you think of the Hernandez pick, and who do you want to take?
I'll save my thoughts on the Hernandez pick for a few minutes, as we're going to kind of potentially go down that road in a second. But I'll take Altuve just based on name value alone, much like Goldschmidt. So I'll take Altuve. He's under the 4K mark. He's getting healthy. He obviously homered over the weekend against the Yanks. Give me Altuve. Again, a name value only in this pick.
Yeah, 4-game hitting streak for that guy right now, man.
Yeah, pretty good. Jonah, a second baseman for under 4K, please.
I'm going super ugly. Rougned Odor, whose batting average, I believe, is negative. But he's been showing signs lately. Signs. Couple home runs in his last 5 games. This is basically a fade Jordan Zimmerman pick here. Zimmerman's given up an OPS over 900 against left-handers this season. He's very, very hittable. Texas has a pretty potent lineup, especially with Joey Gallo coming back. There's an opportunity for a few guys to get well here. So I'm going Odor. It's pretty much a hunch bet and a bet against Zimmerman more than saying Rougned Odor for MVP. Don't think that's it.
Adam, outfielder for under 4K. Talk to me, Goose.
Yeah, give me Kike Hernandez. He's eligible in the outfield. Then you could get Altuve at second, play Hernandez in the outfield. He's homered, I believe, 3 times against Robbie Ray in his career. So again, sitting atop of the Dodgers lineup, the Dodgers could still score runs without Bellinger and without some of the other guys, Muncy in the lineup. I like Kike Hernandez for all the reasons Matt stated for second base. Give it to me in the outfield.
All right, Jonah. Someone besides Chris Davis here, bud.
I'll take Nick Markakis here. You look at the matchup, it's against the rookie Alzolay of the Cubs. Markakis 387 on base percentage against right-handers this year, and he's batting in the number 5 spot right ahead of Austin Riley. Markakis is an on-base machine. Not out of the question he could get a couple singles, maybe a walk, and score a whole bunch of runs batting in front of Riley. I like that. So I don't know that he's going to hit bombs necessarily, but I see him getting on base 2 or 3 times. A subtle one here. 3,900, it's a good one for Markakis.
Matt LaMarca, I have a feeling you're picking up what Jonah's putting down.
Yep, totally agree. I like Nick Markakis a lot. I mentioned the weather conditions in Chicago. He'll get to benefit from those. We're looking at like a 10-mile-an-hour wind blowing directly out to center field. So Markakis is not a guy that you typically associate with a lot of power, but tonight is as good of a night for him to go yard as just about any. The Braves are implied for over 6 runs tonight, so I think that Markakis is a pretty strong target.
Alrighty, it is Slate Approved pick time, you guys. This doesn't have to be somebody from the bargain bin. We're not going to do that to you.
No, absolutely not.
It's probably not your Slate Approved pick. So, Jonah, who is your lock for tonight's slate?
In his last 6 starts, last 41 innings, this gentleman has struck out 59 batters and given up 4 runs. And now he faces the Miami Marlins. It is the chalkiest of chalky, but I will take Max Scherzer here against the Marlins. I will say, however, that if you do want the Yankees stack tonight, which is a reasonable argument, go back to my man Jesse Chavez. So either you go Scherzer and figure it out, or you go all Yankees and take Jesse Chavez. Pick your poison.
Matt LaMarca, Slate Approved.
I'm going with a pitcher as well. Obviously hard to argue against Scherzer, but I really like Jack Flaherty tonight against the A's. If you look at Oakland's projected lineup, they have struck out in 30.6% of at-bats against right-handers over the past 12 months. Flaherty is a capable strikeout pitcher, 10.5 Ks per 9 over the past year. So we're looking at potentially a lot of strikeout upside for a guy that you don't even have to spend 8K for. So you can pair him with Scherzer. You could pair him with a cheap guy like Chavez if you want to go, with a full Yankee stack or something like that. I think that Flaherty is, in a spot where he could be used as a SP1 or 2 tonight. So I like him quite a bit.
Adam, Slate Approved pick.
Yeah, I can't argue against Jonah with Max Scherzer, but if you want to not go chalk, a guy that I see on this list tonight, you could save some money, is Shane Bieber of the Indians against the Royals. Toss out one start against the Yankees a few weeks ago where he gave up 5 runs in an inning and 2/3. The guy's been striking out a ton of guys, 12, 2 starts ago against the Tigers, 8, last start against the Rangers. The Indians offense seems to be waking up a bit. The Royals pitching, again, his handyman's pitching, so you should be able to get on the right side of the scoreboard here. Bieber can dominate a lineup like the Royals, so give me him, save some money, stack some Yankees, and go from there.
Hey, Jonah, real quick, we got about 40 seconds left. Any other storylines you're keeping an eye on tonight?
Well, the storyline I'm keeping an eye on mostly in baseball is the fact that baseball might come back to Montreal. That's kind of the one that I'm looking at more than any. But aside from that, I want to see what Alzolay does for the Cubs. He's an interesting one. He could slot in there in that rotation. Tyler Chatwood not doing the job in Chicago, so there's a real opportunity there. I know that I picked Markakis as my bargain pick, but if Alzolay pitches well, that's a potential game changer for the Cubs this season.
Awesome. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. We'll hopefully have all of you back very soon, as in like tomorrow.
Yeah, because we will be back tomorrow at 6 p.m., so be sure to tune in.